There we go. Hey, everybody. Dr. Phillips here with Texas Chiro Health, coming to you for our Tuesday 12 Minutes to Health. We got a lot of good information to cover today, but before we do, I just want to encourage you guys. I know there's some people in the offices watching right now. As always, I encourage you to get in there on Tuesday nights. We start at 6:15 now. So get into the offices. It's great. We have healthy refreshments. We have green smoothies. We have good conversation, people. But most importantly, the doctors are there in each clinic. So you can have your questions answered after I go over the research and everything, which makes a big difference. And it's kind of nice to just get back to normal right now, to be around people, to share thought, to learn a little bit about being healthy, and to just, be normal a little bit again. So we're trying to lead the way in returning to normalcy. So join us every Tuesday night. Come get your questions answered and enjoy some refreshments. What I do know right now is that our health is the biggest determinant, our baseline health, our immunity, in whether we're getting sick or showing symptoms or how sick we're getting, right? So that's why we're doing these talks. That's why the 12 minutes is every Tuesday night. And that's why we change topics too, to try to keep educating people on how to get yourself healthy and stay healthy, because it is the biggest determining factor right now with this virus situation, and really at any time, on whether you're going to be infected with a bacteria, a virus, a fungus, whatever it may be, and become sick, is your baseline health and immunity. So tonight we're going to look at probiotics and what that does for your health and baseline health and your immunity. So give me just a second to share my screen here with you, and we'll go over the research. There we go. All right, so tonight we're looking at probiotics, which are the good bacteria found in our diet. How we get them, how much we need, what it does for us. There's a lot of research here to cover, so we'll get into it. And as always, we try to use the best research we can find for you. So tonight's study is a great study. It's a review of literature. There's different randomized controlled trials throughout where they found out different information and they kind of tied it all together for us. So it's an unbiased, evidence-based approach so that you get the most correct, most accurate information, not just my opinion on how to be healthy, but what the research actually says. And that's what we should all be focusing on, especially now, but always, is maintaining our health and getting to the point that we need to be from a homeostasis or baseline health fact. So tonight's study was done by Bengmark et al. It's called Immunonutrition, the Role of Biosurfactants, Fiber, and Probiotic Bacteria. So before I dive too deep into it, I want to tell you just a little bit, a couple of the roles that the good bacteria found in our probiotics plays for us inside our body. It's huge for our gut. Okay, and our gut is a very important part of our immune system. The estimates are there's about 70% of our immune system is located in our gut. So it's highly important that we take care of it if we're going to express immunity and be healthy. And having a sufficient supply of good bacteria is a very important part of that. When we have that bacteria, we see that our gut will synthesize vitamins like K2, B12, folic acid. It synthesizes short-chain fatty acids, which actually help repair the gut. It helps the cell walls make sure that they maintain their integrity. And we'll get into how that helps you fight any kind of bacteria or virus or whatever it is that we're talking about. But the bacteria also helps us break down and digest proteins, which we then get to use for repair and things as well. It helps us digest fiber. We actually get kind of a fermentation process that takes place in the gut, which helps us against inflammation and disease and all sorts of things like that. So the bacteria is very important to the health of our gut, which is good because our gut hosts our immune system. It's where all of the nutrients and everything that we use come into our body and get put into play and go where they need to. So without the good bacteria, we may not be getting what we need out of our diets and everything else. So the way the bacteria works, there is some bacteria that will freely float through the gut and everything like that. But the ones that we truly need that are really making a difference actually bind to the gut wall, okay? And the gut wall is important because it's only one cell layer thick. And I'm sure that some of you have heard of leaky gut or things of that nature that cause inflammation, right? So leaky gut is just when those cells become loose in there. They're missing some stuff. We don't have the nutrients. We don't have the bacteria. And that allows invaders in, right? So we can get bacteria getting through. We get inflammation and big proteins coming through that shouldn't be coming through, that should have been broken down by bacteria. So it causes all kinds of issues. We see it with almost every single autoimmune disorder. We see a leaky gut. And it's usually, there's a couple factors in it, but bacteria being a part of that is huge, because that helps slow the inflammation down because of the binding that it does to the gut wall and the repair that then allows to happen because of the fats that it's creating and the proteins it's breaking down and everything else. So when we look at our gut, they found in this study that there's a big effect on our brain and our mental health and the state that we live in based off of our gut. So our gut has its own nervous system. It's the enteric nervous system, okay? And that is always communicating with our central nervous system, or our brain, right? So we have our central nervous system and our enteric nervous system, and that's called the gut-brain pathway. Okay, so if our gut wall is healing, if we have bacteria in there, we're doing all the stuff, making the vitamins like I talked about earlier, the short chain fatty acids, digesting the proteins, all that stuff, then our gut is in a better state, and it actually has a benefit on our mental health with conditions like depression and anxiety and things like that. The gut is very much connected to the brain. There is more and more research that comes out all the time connecting the two. And one of the things I was reading the other day, different study, but it talked about that gut feeling. And it all kind of made sense for me then when I read it. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That my gut feeling, we always say those words, but we don't think about what that means. That's your enteric nervous system talking to your central nervous system. And you have better and higher communication when you have a healthy gut. And that requires sufficiency of the right bacteria, of the good bacteria. When we look at the bacteria and how it's boosting our immunity or helping immune function, is when we do have a sufficient level of good bacteria, it binds to the gut wall, like I was saying, and it fights for food. So when bad bacteria comes in, when viruses come in, other pathogens, yeast, funguses, things like that, as they come in, if there's sufficient bacteria, good bacteria in there, they cannot survive because there isn't enough food. And all the binding sites on the gut where they would normally sneak through are taken up by good bacteria. And the gut is strong and healthy, so it's blocking all those things. So in essence, without good bacteria, without enough sufficient good bacteria, we cannot be healthy. We cannot have full immunity. But with it, we give ourselves a better chance. Now, the bacteria relies on vitamin D, it relies on omega-3s. Those are all other things that help the immune system function like it should. But the bacteria is one of the biggest things in there, and that's why it's one of the essential nutrients that we use in our office for everybody. By binding to those sites, by eliminating the food source for bad bacteria and viruses, it brings your whole body inflammation way down. So it helps with pain, it helps with depression, all sorts of different things that inflammation is behind. So that's another big thing that the good bacteria is doing for us, is blocking all that stuff from happening. So the reason that we suggest everybody be on a probiotic is because we have in our body, we have about 10 times more bacterial cells than we do body cells, right? That's a lot of bacteria. And if you look back as we evolved, we consumed about 1 million times more bacteria a day back when we were evolving, our Stone Age ancestors, than we do today. Everything is sterilized now. We're constantly, especially right now, right? We're not bringing in any bacteria. If we're not supplying good bacteria to our body, we're losing, we're missing out, and we're eventually going to be sick in some way or another. So we have got to be taking a good probiotic bacteria. Now there's all kinds of probiotics out there. And I get patients all the time who tell me, I eat a lot of yogurt. And I do the good yogurt without sugar or whatever it is. And what this study went on to show is that the bacteria found in yogurt, or in any dairy products for that matter, is the bacteria that floats right through. It doesn't actually bind to the cell wall. So that's not helping us. It serves a function, but it's a small function. That bacteria is not nearly as beneficial as that bacteria like Lactobacillus plantarum, which should be the #1 ingredient in your probiotic, because it has shown to bind to the cell walls of the gut at a higher level, and that causes more healing, and it causes less inflammation and everything else. But when we have the dairy bacteria, it kind of floats right through us, and it doesn't really help us. You need a good natural organic plant-based bacteria source. So if you don't want to take a probiotic, you would have to eat like I think it's 7 or 8 jars of organic sauerkraut a day to make up for the bacteria that we lose when we don't take a good probiotic. So, and you need to know where it's grown. A lot of this stuff uses synthetic bacteria. It's grown in a lab. It doesn't adhere to the cell wall like it should. It's dead bacteria. You don't keep it out of moisture, so it's not in the fridge or the freezer or something like that. You want your probiotic to be in the fridge or the freezer, because that keeps moisture where it keeps the bacteria alive, gives you a better chance of binding to the gut wall like I was talking about, and reducing all the inflammation and helping your immunity. So I know there are questions on probiotics. There's so much information when it comes to probiotics. That's why I encourage you guys, come into the office, come in on Tuesdays, enjoy some refreshments, talk to the doctors, get your questions answered. We're there all the time. We have this research. If you can't make it on a Tuesday, stop in, give us a call, let us know when you can make it. We need to be healthy now more than ever. And that's why, we're doing these Tuesday talks, the 12 minutes to health. So come in and get your questions answered. And I know just from talking to friends and family members, people are hurting. We're getting sicker sitting at home, where it's less sunlight. We're not breathing as well. We're working from home. We're in awkward positions. There's pain, there's discomfort. Guys, get it taken care of. Your schedule has never been more free than it is now for you to take care of yourself. We're all working from home. Kids aren't in school. There's a bunch of stuff. Sports aren't really happening. I mean, somewhat, but not really. So you have more free time than you've ever had. Take advantage of it. Come in. We'll get you hooked up with an exam and everything else. We're working with big brothers and big sisters right now. So if you're in the office tonight, enjoy the refreshments, get your questions answered. Everybody else, thank you for joining us, and join us in the office on Tuesdays. Thanks, guys. Talk soon.